Yes, my name is Josh Frank, and I'm the owner of the Blue Starlite Drive-In, and I also manage and run the Eastside Cinema, the last single-screen cinema in Austin, Texas. So I started the drive-in 15 years ago in an alleyway. Really, it was more as like the idea was, the original concept was more like an art installation type thing. Like, hey, oh, this would be funky and strange to put a drive-in in the middle of a city in a small alleyway. And people really responded to that. And so that idea has sort of morphed over the years and continued and grown in certain ways, and then retracted, and then grown, but it all started as this very modest little boutique idea, which it has remained in many ways. When the East Side Cinema became available as an option, um, because I have this, sort of obsession with keeping movie theaters alive, I had to sort of take a part in play a part, felt a need to play a part in um, bringing movies back to that cinema. The idea was always that other people would sort of take it over and use it to show their own locally made movies or movies that they've been wanting to show to movie theater but haven't been able to. So the idea was always that it would sort of be this sort of co-op thing where it was sort of available to use, and we sort of oversaw the usages of it. So really, whatever future it has is really in the hands of people like Format Cinema and other One Man's Trash, which is another series. People bringing series in and using that cinema. Right now, the plan is to just try and keep them going. It's hard for every independent cinema, and just the same, it's hard uh, to keep a small cinema operation going, whether it's a drive-in or an indoor cinema. So really, the goal is just to try and keep the ones that we have healthy. And there's two ways to do that. One is with your audience, and one is with the people that bring movies to show, to the spaces, to activate them. At this point in my career, I look at it more like I am the activator of, I am the creator of these spaces, but I really, my hope and dream is that other people will be the people that activate those spaces. Over the years, there have been some movies that I've wanted to show that I didn't know, who had the rights or this or that, and or sometimes rights are sort of in limbo, and then they become available. And one of those great ones was Grosse Point Blank. I always had wanted to show that, and I didn't know how. And it became available through one of my distributors, and I was able to show that one. Another one is a French film called Children of Paradise, which is Terry Gilliam's favorite movie of all time and mine. And I've always wanted to show that one. I just haven't yet because it's like 3.5 hours long, and I don't know if anyone would come. But it's wonderful. It's one of the most wonderful movies of all time. That's that's a really tough question. I can kind of put it into the parameters of what we do, which is we create movie experiences. So, like for instance, seeing the original Halloween on Halloween at our drive-in is like one of those experiences I think everyone should do. Same for whenever there happens to be an actual Friday the 13th, which usually happens at least once a year. Sometimes, if we're lucky, twice. We can show Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th. I love we haven't been able to do it in a while, but we when we had a forest screen at our previous location. We would do the fog in the forest, and that was a huge favorite that anyone experienced feels very lucky that they were able to. We don't currently have a forest screen, but maybe someday we'll have one again and we can bring that experience back. Well, these guys, Roxy, all these folks that currently do screenings at the cinema, they're the whole reason that we reopen the cinema. So working with them is great and very special because that was the whole point. It's like, hey, well, there's this cinema, you can use it. And so when people step in and 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 curate and create and bring their own crowds and programming to the theater, that's what will keep it going. Yeah, and we've done that actually a couple times, and it's one of my favorite things that we have done with that space. It's the perfect space for bringing back films and filmmakers that made movies in the in the 80s and 90s in Austin that haven't gotten to show in decades. It's that has been the most thrilling part of bringing this cinema space back, and I hope that more filmmakers and projects will come forward that want to do like old school Austin programming because there's such a desire for it and there's such an interest in it, and it's thrilling when you get these large groups of people together that haven't seen each other in years, that were part of a cool Austin scene, from back in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s, and they get to like celebrate what they did when they were younger. It's very cool. Mainly just when people come up and say, like about the drive-in, this is so cool. This is the neatest thing I've ever done. It's so different. It's so unique. That makes me feel like I've created something special as an artist, And with the indoor theater, I love it when people are like, oh, this is, my favorite little cinema to come to. It's this little secret. I love that we've created something new that out of something old that people can make their own and feel like they have their own special place, because that's really what's missing in today's movie theater world. Is there's all the ones that are surviving, the most are the bigger cinemas, and it's those little secret cinemas around the country that there's less and less of, and I think that there should be more and more. And I want to go back to, I'd like, after this 15 years of different drive-in versions, I'd like to go back to my alleyway, simple, 15 car tops, super boutique drive-in experience that I started with. I sort of long to come full circle with the concept. So every once in a while I'll drive around East Austin looking for that perfect little alleyway where I could return. I'm a big fan of like early Werner Herzog movies. So like I love like the really weird foreign films, from the 70s, and 80s. And I would like to show more of those. Again, I don't know how many people would come, but it's one of those things like, it's like, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should, as when it comes to uh, curating, because there's a balance between curating, what you think will be unique and original and really cool to do, and will it make enough to keep the lights on? So that's the most frustrating balance of having a cinema, is like you know, you have to like be very uh, uh, disciplined with your choices. Oh, just if you're interested in curating at the East Side Cinema, you can go to our website, eastsidecinema.com, and come to the drive-in because it's really cool and quirky, and um, we're still here after 15 years, keeping Austin funky and making memories under the stars.